NBWA exists, how we behave, and what we do in the face of these challenges. We call this model the Golden Circle. And I think it does a pretty darn good job of helping us understand how NBWA serves the industry and distributors. So first, starting at the center of the circle, why does NBWA exist? NBWA is here to preserve, protect, and grow our members' investment in the independent beer distribution industry. While this seems like a simple concept, like most simple things, it's easy to lose sight of if we don't keep it top of mind every day. Everything NBWA does must come back to this standard. From how we advocate at the federal level, right down to how and who we hire to represent our interests, everything has to come back to this mission. Next, how do we expect NBWA to act? Being strong makes NBWA a good advocate and a better industry partner. Being transparent ensures that our members and partners have context for what we're doing and why we're doing it. Transparency also preserves our integrity and accountability to our mission and to our values. Being responsible is about being disciplined with member resources and always remembering that beer is unique among consumer products. And respect means that we are open to fresh ideas, that we listen to the brutal facts, and that we take every meeting, anywhere, anytime. What does NBWA do? Well, we do 4 things. We advocate, we educate, we congregate, and we communicate. Let's take a second and look at how we do each of them. First and foremost, NBWA advocates primarily by defending the state's right to regulate alcohol. At the federal level, we focus our attention on issues of national concern, while at the state level, we provide insights and ideas that support state distributor associations. So how do we educate? While education and advocacy go hand in glove, I like to think of NBWA's Education and Member Services platform as the place where we invite, and I love the word invite, where we invite influencers, decision makers, regulators, our brewer partners, and yes, even ourselves to remind ourselves of our story. How do we congregate? Well, NBWA has a long history and tradition of creating space where the entire industry comes together to form a community. This 74th annual convention is just one example. Where else is more of the industry together at any one time than in an NBWA event? Finally, what about communication? NBWA is the chief spokesperson for beer distributors, and we are often the logical voice for beer and the larger beer industry. So let's talk for a second about how we put those 4 things, advocacy, education, congregation, and communication, into action. These 4 points up here on the screen now represent NBWA's standard metrics, the building blocks that allow us to complete our mission. We constantly strive to improve member communication. It's important that we keep you up to date and give you context regarding big news that takes place in our industry so that each of us can confidently speak to issues and ask for the order when meeting with a decision maker over a beer. Speaking of having relationships with decision makers, it's vital that we improve our grassroots action capability. When we don't reaffirm our local credibility early and often by having solid, earned, top-to-top relationships, beginning with locally elected leaders who will move on to larger state and federal roles, we risk severely limiting our future advocacy opportunities. Now, here's my big ask. If you do one thing this year that isn't about directly selling beer, please have a member of your city council, your state house, or Congress over for just a casual visit. You don't have to sell anything. You don't have to pitch anything. Just have them over. Build a relationship. Get to know them. It really matters, and frankly, it's something only you can do. On that note, thank you for your continued support of the PAC. We've been able to do so much with your investment over the years, but there is so much more we can do, and the stakes are higher and higher for beer distributors than ever. The same goes with NBWA operating revenue. No money means no mission. And while NBWA works hard to ensure that your dues are spent as efficiently as possible, we continue to risk contraction through consolidation. To counteract that financial impact, We've just put in place a dues formula adjustment that will ensure that we keep protecting, promoting, and growing your investment. So now let's look at where your association will be focusing our resources and attention. These 4 planks will define our efforts for this upcoming year. First and again, advocacy is the gas pedal that we can never take our foot off of. It comes in the form of supporting meaningful federal legislation and policy at the federal and state levels, and at other times, through any number of legal, education, and communication initiatives. Now rest assured, we will continue to promote and defend the opportunity to make decisions about alcohol and the 3-tier system at the state level. Next, NBWA will begin to explain and expand the commercial benefit of the 3-tier system in beer distributors. This is an area that I'm really fired up about. There was a time when this work, along with our 4th plank, made the bulk of what NBWA did. And over the years, we've shifted our attention for very good reason into other areas like regulation. And while effective regulation is a drum that we will continue to beat, the 98,000 men and women who make up the beer distribution industry need us to make clear and compelling statements about the economic value of the system and the brand-building, value-adding distributors that support it. Along the same lines, it's time to reframe and rehabilitate the image of beer distributors internally, as well as externally. A number of years ago, we began to use this image. Wow. We began to use this image to describe ourselves, to describe to ourselves how we were viewed by the outside world. We told ourselves that as middlemen, we needed to face the brutal facts. We were ugly. And as my friend Jack Joyce said at the time, you needed better friends. He was right at the time. It made sense. We were under attack at nearly every turn. It made so much sense, in fact, that we came to believe it about ourselves. Maybe a little too much. This is not the industry I know. I'm proud of the role we play in our community, our economy, and in the value chain. And I don't know about you, but I am fiercely proud to be a beer distributor. It's time for us to reclaim what we believe about beer distributors. Finally, it's also time for us to get back to beer. The numbers are clear. Our industry has work to do on brand beer, as Joe McLean from BI recently called it. Craft is adding excitement, innovation, and creativity, no doubt about it. The work that our craft brethren are doing is absolutely fantastic. But let's face it, beer is soft. Now, we know that it can and will grow again. And I don't know if we'll end up with a national campaign that looks like the dairy industry's Got Milk, but I do know that it's time for all 3 tiers to get to work to ensure that beer remains the alcohol beverage of choice in the United States. As your elected officer and chairman, it's my primary role to make sure we remember why NBWA does what it does, and that we stay on that mission by thinking, acting, and communicating from the inside out of our circle. Now, as I said at the beginning of my remarks, I'm really looking forward to being part of a great team of people, including volunteers, our truly, and I mean truly, professional staff, and you, the engaged members of NBWA, who are 100% dedicated to ensuring that all of us, an industry made up of 3 distinct tiers, can preserve, protect, and grow our investment and our future in this fantastic American beer business. Thank you. It's now my honor to introduce you to that team of volunteers that I spoke about a second ago. This is NBWA's 2011-2012 officers and regional chairs. So first, the officers. Bob Archer, vice chairman. Greg Lamantia, treasurer. Jim Hellman, secretary. And the happiest guy in the house, Larry Del Papa, immediate past chair. And your regional directors. Region 1, Mike Baker from Vermont. Region 2, Greg Dunn from Michigan. Region 3, George Clark from Kentucky. Region 4, Doug Cohn from Florida. Region 5, Robert Saunders from Texas. Region 6, Travis Markstein from California. Region 7, Don Onbaugh from Oregon. And Region 8, Tom Helland from South Dakota. Now, representing regions 1 through 4 in the East, A.K. Detweiler from Tennessee. And representing regions 4 through 8 in the West, Paul Bykirk from Missouri. Thank you to every one of you for taking on the role and leading here at NBWA. We are really looking forward to a great year together. Now, it's time for us to get on with the show.